Okay, now we can do our books.
Today we're going to talk about the canning process. Canning is taking cooking one step more and applying heat to a food in a jar to stop the natural spoilage by removing air from the jar to create a seal. There are two home canning methods, the water bath canning and the pressure canning. Although there are many ways to save food for a later date, there are only 3 methods that will allow you to save food for 6+ months without digging a root cellar. We're going to start off explaining what a water bath canning process is. Water bath canning is a shorter, low temperature canning process that is ideal for high acid foods. The high acidity of the foods kills bacteria, allowing for the water bath method. Types of fruits and vegetables ideal for water bath preserving include fruits and vegetables, fruit juices, jams and jellies, salsas, tomatoes with high acid, pickles and relishes, chutneys, vinegars, and condiments. You're going to start off by washing your jars and keeping the jars warm to prevent them breaking when you're putting them into the boiling water. You'll then fill the canner with water until there is enough water to cover the jars with 1 inch. And then you're going to warm the lids in boiling water. Fill your jars, leaving 1 inch of headspace. That's where you leave 1 inch from the food to the top of your jar. You'll then take a plastic, non-metallic spatula and stir your food around. This removes any air bubbles that could cause any botulism in your food. Then wipe the rim of your jar off to prevent any spoilage. Place lids and rings on the jars and only hand tighten them. This will allow air to escape during the water bath process. Then place your jar full of food and rings and lids into the water bath for the allotted amount of time. This will allow for any bacteria to be killed and seal any food inside the jar. The second method we'll talk about is pressure canning. Pressure canning brings food to 240 degrees to eliminate the risk of a foodborne illness like botulism. Even when you're mixing high acid foods with a low acid food, you must use the pressure canning method to safely preserve the contents. When preserving low acid foods like many vegetables, meats, poultry, and seafood, you will use the pressure canner. The pressure canner is much more dangerous and requires much more attention than the water bath. You use the same process of washing jars and keeping your jars warm to prevent the breaking during the pressure canning process. You warm the lids, fill the jars, and remove any air bubbles. Wipe your rim of the jar and place the rings on at a hand tightened. You'll then place them in the canner and close the lid on your canner. You will then allow the canner to warm up and steam for 10 minutes before putting your pressure valve on and allowing the food to cook for the allotted amount of time. When things are done cooking, you turn off your heat and allow it to cool naturally. And then take it out of your pressure canner and set on the counter for 24 hours before checking to see if everything's sealed. There is a third, less popular way of saving food, and that is freezing food. It is the best option for some foods that leave a weird texture during pressure canning or water bath canning, but it is not the best option for all foods because some foods once canned cannot be served raw. In 1941, the USDA's Bureau of Home Economics said that freezing should not be an excuse of slacking off on proper food prep. Foods can deteriorate in a freezer storage, and this new and promising commercial method of food preservation must not be regarded as a means for eliminating all attention to detail and the work that is intended to proper canning and curing. Freezing is quick. You wash, peel, dry, and place in a bag and place in the freezer. But you can't freeze in bulk because you can only put 4 pounds of raw food in a freezer per cubic foot for effective freezing. So you can put 4 pounds in per cubic foot per day. So you can't do a lot in one day. Some things can't be canned at all, like broccoli, cauliflower, celery, Brussels sprouts, eggplant, unless they are pickled. So these would have to be chopped and placed in a bag in the freezer and would only last for 6 months in the freezer versus 2 years in a canning process. And then some foods, like carrots or olives, cannot be frozen at all because they become poisonous to us when we serve them afterwards. Canning and freezing are great ways to store food when they are in abundance and cheap for winter, or when they are expensive, versus when they are expensive and being shipped from other countries. So it's great to be able to know how to can and preserve food when you can either grow it yourself or get it at a local farmer's market.